9 million people a year are giving their lives to Jesus Christ in China. The smoke was still hovering over Tiananmen Square following the massacre of student protesters June 4th, 1989, when Jesus reached into the heart of a young man who had championed anti-corruption, freedom, and democracy. Bob Fu would become God's double agent. It's the kind of drama movies are made of. This video will give you a taste. One of the most important players in the Chinese Christian movement, Bob Fu and his wife Heidi made a daring escape to America in 1997 with really the help of thousands, including ABC's Peter Jennings, Dr. Robert Schuller, and President Bill Clinton. Bob and Heidi, thankfully, are raising 3 lovely children in Texas right now. This picture, Bob, was taken in your first home in Philadelphia, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
When you first came here.
First came here in the United States.
You know, I wasn't going to do this now, but I just to, the extremity of this is captured in a paragraph near the end of the book, where you say, very recently, I had eaten wormy cornbread and slept on a concrete slab. Now I attended seminary and had a beautiful son, a house in Philadelphia, and a vehicle with a tank full of gas that you had no idea how to drive. We couldn't help but wonder what God was about to ask us to do, and more importantly, if we could meet the challenge. Tell us about China Aid that you run today.
Yeah, Moira, it's just a wonderful, of course, experience after we escaped from China and being accepted by the free world, and especially by those people, like you just mentioned, from President Bill Clinton to, you know, Dr. Don Argue, the former president of the NEE. And everybody really embraced us, and we felt, you know, we're starting a new chapter of our lives. But when we start receiving phone calls from China, from our crying out brothers and sisters who are suffering and being persecuted, and some called me in the middle of the night and basically telling me they're coming, they're knocking on my door, and I could hear those public security officers were knocking the door and made arrest and torturing them. You know, watching my child sleep peacefully in the suburb of Philadelphia, I just couldn't really sleep well if I don't speak for them. And at least we enjoy the freedom of speech in the West, and we can worship freely without being afraid of arrested.
And you could have 3 children.
Yeah, and breaking the quota of one-child policy, that's another miracle, and a wonderful grace from the Lord. So I just felt, you know, Lord, you know, we need to speak up. We need to be a voice for these voiceless brothers and sisters. So that's the background of establishing China Aid. So we just want to be a voice for those voiceless brothers and sisters. And to, when they are imprisoned, we want to visit them as the gospel has told us. We want to remember them, those who are in bond, as if we are bound with them. So that's the mission of China Aid, is to advance religious freedom and the rule of law in China by exposing the abuses and encourage these abused and equipping the leaders.
Helping the lawyers and activists, too, who are risking their lives to defend those who are in prison, whose lives are at risk. You know, we were talking before we came to air about, you know, the presence of communist spies is well known. Are you not afraid for your life and the lives of your loved ones here?
Well, you know,
in Texas now?
Moira, well, maybe that's one of the reasons we feel much secure in the middle of the desert. It's a city called Midland, Texas.
Don't tell them where.
Well, and they know where we are. And but really, you know, sometimes many people advise me, and even, you know, some high-level government officials in the West told me I need to be careful, I need to lay low, I need to stay sort of under the radar because I could antagonize, you know, the Communist Party, and they could assassinate me. You know, sometimes you had a little bit of fear, you know, to be honest. But, you know, we feel if we don't speak up for those suffering and voiceless brothers and sisters, who will? Yeah, so if we are constantly intimidated by fear, as many, even many Christians are feeling, and chose to be silent, and how could we you know, face those brothers and sisters when we see them in heaven?
One of the quotes at the beginning of your book, Benjamin Franklin, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." Your first baby was rebellion to tyrants. You didn't have a card that allowed you to even conceive. I mean, I didn't even know about that. I knew the one-child rule, but you weren't even allowed to conceive without legal permission.
That's right, Maura. Many people in the West know about one-child policy in China. They think, they assume that you can be allowed to have a first child, you know, after you get married, you know. But actually, in reality, is the Chinese family planning system is you have to get a pregnancy permit.
It's a yellow card, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a yellow card.
Yellow
It's called
card.
yeah, before you even get pregnant, because of the quota system. In each work unit, every year you are assigned for how many babies your newlywed couple can be allowed to be born.
And you were expecting when you were in the process of trying to escape. And I don't want to steal everything, no chance of that from the book, but it was the last day of the old Hong Kong government under British rule when you actually got out. The next day it would be Chinese controlled.
That's right. It's
Just
nothing
couldn't have been tighter.
short of a miracle. It is, you know, God, through His miraculous act, were able to escape from China to Hong Kong. Then 3 days before Hong Kong was handed over to China, we were accepted as refugees directly by the U.S. government to the United States.